So let me switch over here to the actual demonstration of the table. So which camera are we at? This guy. All right. So we have just kind of taken apart foosball table. No players, just so that we can kind of easily demonstrate this for you. But so if you want to switch over here. So we got the different game modes that you can select, classic or timed halves. And you can go into each one and you can edit the parameters. So in the classic mode, you can increase or decrease the score. You know, my friend is not that great at foosball, so he might start with 8, and I'll start with 0. Let's say that. So the best of is, you know, best of 3, 5, all odd numbers. But so let's set it to 3. Show you. And actually, there's also, I forgot, there is a high score. Yeah. So first to 10, you could set this to whatever. So let's set it to 10. So the home team is on this side. I'll be home team. And away goal is on this side. So you have to hit these buttons, the LED buttons, in order to start off the game. Hopefully you can hear that. The whistle blows, the game has started. So if my friend scores, you got a crowd cheering. And you can't see this, but yeah, the sensor did register that the ball had gone into the ball retrieval. So then I score, and again, I forgot about that part. So if the game notices that you haven't scored one or the other side, I think I have it set to 5. So if I haven't scored in 5, goals that the opponent has scored, then it will increase the volume of the celebration and actually kind of drag it out a little bit for, to make people feel good and a little embarrassed. So anyways, so we'll say my buddy's getting on a streak and he scores and he gets first to 10. So that is the increase on the home side is 1, and so we switch sides and play it again. So let's go to the timed halves mode. So in this, you have the 5-minute, you got the halves, you've got the score that you can edit, you have the legs option. What else do you have? So I'll just cycle through it here. So you got player 1, you can change the score. Player 2, also customizable. The half times, you can change, increase or decrease by 15. I'll bring it down to 15 seconds, just a quick little game. Legs are off at this moment. And here's the ratio. So as the home team, I would have to score 2 goals to get 1 goal. Player 2, 1-1. Let's just keep it there. So again, I don't know if you can see this. Can they see this? So you would have to hit the red button. There's 1 on each side so that it kicks off and commences play. So as the home team scores, I just scored 1, but it didn't score because my ratio is set to 2. So that's why it didn't trigger. Okay. So I have to press the button and restart play. And there we go. We got 1. Now we switch sides. Again, you have to start play by hitting the LED buttons. And then, that was a bad demonstration. Probably didn't hit a sensor. And again, here, we'll just press it. There we go. So, because we switched sides, I was the home team. And I was playing, first I was playing on the left-hand side here, scoring against this goal. Switch sides, switch goals. So, that is pretty much how the timed halves version works. So yeah. I think that wraps it up for questions.
Can you make one for tennis so I can beat my husband?
We can figure something out. Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, is there any way to take a look at the repo or the code structure or anything like that?
So yeah, this is the repo on GitHub. Kind of my testing photo. But yeah, the README kind of describes, the buttons, all the components, what they do, the sensors that I'm using, and that there are different options. So you can set this up where you just load the code onto the microcontroller, or you can load the code to an SD card and run it from the SD card slot, the micro SD card slot on the microcontroller. So that the reason I would do that is, the reason I did that is so that I could kind of take it home, take the SD card home and kind of like make any adjustments that I need to in order to make the program run smoother, or add different features, or just kind of have a take-home version of it. But then it also has the hardware list and links to where you can buy those on the README itself. And now the code, like I was saying, the code looks identical to Python. Now the libraries themselves, you have to load Adafruit's, or I think it's CircuitPython's libraries. No, it is Adafruit. Adafruit's libraries, so that it runs, or that at least you can reference the libraries and have things working properly. But yeah, when you look at the code, let's take a look here. Look at that. So these while loops, it kind of runs like an infinite loop until you set a trigger to have it stop, right? That's where infinite loops are good. Daniel said to stay away from infinite loops, but I think that's the only way you can get these to work. So like once, for example, here in line 81, while edit mode, it's going into the edit mode, right? At least the screen. And that's where you can kind of flip through your selection. Let's see, if edit select, I guess that's what I named them. So I think it's set to 0 initially, which, if 0 in Python is false. So really, I guess edit select could just, well, no, it has to be 1. But for 0, it's just an else statement here at the bottom. So yeah, 1 is incrementing away score, and 0 is incrementing or decrementing the home score. So yeah, anything specific you want to check out, Piero?
No, I just wanted to see all these fancy inline code comments too.
Yeah, very descriptive. I need to work on that a little bit.
And the little no qua trick that you use to exceed the line length 80.
Yeah, they what is it? VS Code really likes to bark at you, especially when you go over 80 characters long. Was there a question?
Yeah, Nico says I can build a PC from parts, but know next to nothing about hardware at this level. I wouldn't know where to start on a project like this. Any suggestions on how to learn more?
Go to Adafruit, like look up like microcontrollers on Adafruit. I mean, I think Raspberry. I was telling Daniel before this whole demonstration that like when I find something, I just go at it full speed ahead, and so I've been just looking at Adafruit stuff, and like they've got forums that are crazy in depth about post questions on there. They've got their kind of technical support line is on there, not phone number, but at least they answer your questions. But they have a learn tab at the top of adafruit.com where you can check out different projects that people have worked on, kind of like this, and but not as intense projects, if you catch my drift. But they've got like scoring mechanisms, like you can set up. I saw this one thing for a digital scoring system for like a little Nerf basketball game, and then also you can kind of build your own. I think they have a section called wearables where you can like put LED strips on shoes, for example, and use a microcontroller to kind of trigger your LED strips to light up when you take a step using, I can't remember, they're not pressure sensitive resistors, but it's something similar to that. But it's the same concept. They've got a ton of stuff on their website, so I'd check it out, adafruit.com.
Kevin, any plans eventually to go from breadboard to a printed circuit board? Is that way out of your expertise?
That's not my wheelhouse at the moment. But that would be cool. I mean, it would make things a lot easier setting stuff up for sure.
Not worrying about pins coming loose and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that was not the fun part. Because the pins are so small, you've got to use a fine tipped needle nose pliers to kind of put them in without hitting anything else.
Okay, so Kevin, what inspired you to choose this project over and above any other projects that you might have been thinking of?
Modelo.
Are they your sponsor?
Unofficial sponsor, yeah. We just hang out. So I'm at my friend's house, Greg. He's been gracious enough to kind of let me take over this foosball table.
It looks like he let you saw up his foosball table too, right?
Let me what? I'm sorry?
Saw some holes in it and
yeah. Just destroy, take it apart, He didn't really care. So it's kind of like a collaboration piece.
Love it.
Yeah.
Secret fart button.
Yeah.
I see Zach has his hand raised. Zach, do you have a question?
Yeah, Kevin, this is a really cool thing. I was just wondering, what did you find was the most challenging part of this project? Because obviously you're quite handy to begin with. So What were the main challenges you faced?
Um, well, I mean, at the moment, the biggest challenge for me is the LED strips. They've been, I mean, I don't know what's going on with the wiring, if there's a short in the wire, or I've been asking tons of questions on Adafruit. They do get back to you, it just takes a while. And this was kind of an afterthought, the whole LED strip. But in the workings of it, the actual project itself, the stuff that works at the moment, I think the hardest part to wrap my brain around was the whole switching sides and trying to map that out. I drew up diagrams just to kind of keep track of how I was structuring the code, or at least like scoring the code for the timed halves version of game mode. So that was probably the most difficult.
Didn't you say you had some issues with detection of the ball on one of the goals also?
Yeah, so this foosball table is kind of cheap. So if you noticed in the, let me bring up the photo. If you look on the photo on the right, there are two sensors on both sides, but if the ball were to land right in the middle, it won't register a goal. If the ball's hit lightly and it just kind of nestles right down into the ball return, it won't sense it. But on different foosball tables, it's usually just flat. So if we had a better foosball table, which I'm open to a GoFundMe for this, to get a better foosball table, and they have just like flat surfaces you can stick stuff on super easily. They even make some that, like, you know, you can lift rather than flipping the whole table over. You lift it up. It's almost like a, you know, the hood of a car, where you can get into the inner workings of the table super easily. That's why it didn't register.
Megan has her hand up. Go ahead, Megan.
Maybe not on this one, because I don't think you have the ability to input words, just increase and decrease things. But if you do make one with a Model 2, what do you think it would be possible to change it so that instead of home and away, it displayed like the names?
Yeah. So I was also thinking about that. Even creating like gamer profiles. You can do that with this microcontroller, and then I don't know. I mean, have like a thumbprint reader or like a playing card, you know, and a card reader, so that it tells, you know, what or who's playing and sets up the game for those two players. But yeah, definitely being able to edit the names. Yeah, I've definitely thought about that. It's just a matter of like having a keyboard, I guess.
You know, include a credit card reader that makes little microtransactions per play. You know,
Right.
maybe some Bitcoin here and there.
Yeah, yeah. Let's collaborate, Daniel.
All right.
Any other questions?
Did you just kind of decide on Adafruit, or was there like, were you like, Adafruit or like Raspberry Pi or Arduino? Like, is there just kind of like the most information was there, or I guess how'd you pick all that?
So I had, in my undergrad, I had used Adafruit's, I think it was like Circuit Playground. I don't know, I think that's one of their microcontrollers. But so yeah, I had previous experience working with Adafruit components, so I kind of just ran with it since I had, you know, a little bit of background. I knew kind of what I was getting into. Not really. Um, I had asked for um, like product suggestions before I started even building this on their forums, and people got back to me, even though they didn't know the scale of the project. They gave some suggestions, and it's kind of, trial and error, such as coding is. I bought a little M0 Express microcontroller, and that was the one that you could only use, 250 lines of code. So once I reached 250 lines, it gives you this error code saying, I think it's like you've exceeded the capacity of whatever, the microcontroller. And I just kept getting that. I'm like, why is this doing that? So I went back on the same forum that I posted, or the same post that I had posted. And I was like, so what's going on with this? They're like, oh, yeah, you might want to upgrade your microcontroller. So, yeah, then I did. I went with I asked more questions, what was good for a project this scale, and they came back and gave me the Grand Central option. So yeah, Adafruit was just previous experience. That was all.
Cool. Yeah, just kind of looking to do it not as much of a game, but just like a system with sensors, and like if it goes like up high, this temperature, like above this humidity level, like send me an alert. Or I'm just kind of like a project like that. And I'm just,
they have those sensors too. Raspberry Pis also. Bombard Piero with questions, because he's retired now and he's got plenty of time on his hands. But he helped me out a lot with just kind of problems, troubleshooting stuff. But and ask him about his was it your little like hydroponics garden at your house?
Yeah. I got a garden bot going.
Yep. So yeah, Adafruit makes. Do you use Raspberry Pi?
I do. Yeah, I use Home Assistant on Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
And Node-RED automations.
Yeah. So the Raspberry Pi has. Were you using like? So what components, humidity wise or like water level wise?
So yeah, water level wise, there's some interesting sensors. Well, hold on, I gotta turn off my background thing, or I'll hold it up there. Like, this is a sensor that an ultrasonic sensor that you can measure water level in a bucket of water with. It's got a sender and a receiver in it. You trigger the sender, and the time that it takes to get back to the receiver, you can calculate the distance from this thing to the surface of the water. It's fun.
Is that Adafruit or what?
No, I just got these off of Amazon, but it works with, Arduino boards like these also, and ESP8266 boards. There's a whole ecosystem out there of sensors that you can cobble together, and it's a real kind of an off-the-shelf type of project where really there's very little code involved, and you just write configuration files.
Right.
But you can customize it if you need to. Yeah, there's nothing like a nice solid hardware project with limited resources available to hone your programming skills and make you super conscious of every line of code that you write and how much memory it's taking up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any more questions? We good?
Yeah, I just want to point out, and maybe you can kind of second this, Kevin, but like the barrier to entry on these type of projects seems huge, right? Like hardware, and I don't know electrical engineering, and I don't want to get involved in all the math that I've seen around that subject. But these platforms like Arduino and Raspberry Pi and Adafruit, and like the communities really come together to reduce that barrier to entry to where you can make really cool hardware
Yeah.
projects with just basic programming knowledge.
Yeah.
And so you're already enabled to do that with the knowledge you have right now. So
right.
don't look at this as like an intimidating thing when you see like resistors and potentiometers, and it's a very, very small increment in your knowledge to learn how to put those together and use them.
It's a very easy learning curve once you get some, you know, some coding languages down in your tool belt.
Yeah. And of course, that's not to diminish the enormous project you've undertaken here, because when you do start to put them together into complex, you know, pieces, it gets crazy.
Right. Oh yeah, totally. I started out just buying a microcontroller and then going through the Adafruit's Learn platform, like for each. The cool thing about Adafruit, about every product that they have on their website, they have a learn or lesson that's associated with those components, whether it be a button, whether it be speakers, or you know, the RGB matrix, the LED matrix, or these, you know, touch sensors. They have an associated lesson to kind of walk you through how to set something up, just like something super simple. And then that kind of gives you an idea of how it works. And then because this is Circuit Python and I already know Python, it was just a breeze to kind of create some code behind it. I think they also make, when I was looking at microcontrollers, I think I saw a JavaScript like microcontroller where its programming language was just JavaScript. So I was kind of debating between the two and just chose Circuit Python.
Awesome. That brings us right to our time anyway. So thank you so much, Kevin. So cool to see. I know I heard about this when it was just like a seed of an idea, and to see it, you know, a couple months out now is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad it finished. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you letting me do this.
Absolutely. I'm glad to share all this with the group here. So thanks again. And I hope everyone enjoyed this.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
All right. We'll see you all later. We'll go ahead and close this out, and everyone have a great day.